If you could only choose one piece of gym equipment, there's a good chance that adjustable dumbbells would be the best pick. Today, we're going to look at arguably the most popular set, the Reppins, or the Rep by Pépin Fast-Series, compared to their little-known predecessors, the Pépin HDs. Let's go. What's up guys, Kyle with HypertroFit and PectusWarriors.com. Today we are going to cover the adjustability between the dumbbells, what they feel like to use, how you store them, and the overall price and value. And really quick, I do want to mention that I am a Rep Fitness affiliate. I purchased both of these products with my own money, and I actually ended up becoming an affiliate with Rep long after purchasing either of these. So this is just my honest take on using these. If you do want to pick up anything, please use my affiliate links in the description below. Now on to the comparison. I've already done a full video in depth on the Reppins, so we'll run through those really quick. If you're interested in that, I will link that above. But very quickly, we have weights ranging from 10 to 125 pounds. On the rails themselves, it goes up to 120. And then if we want to get up to 125, we add the 2.5 pound adder plates to either side. This gives us 5 pound increments for weight adjustments. On the Pépin HDs, with the long screws, you can actually get up to 170 pounds on these. That's 8 10-pound plates on both sides. So a massive weight range capable with these. That's actually why I bought them. 170 pounds is crazy for even commercial dumbbells. You'll very rarely find those. They do exist, but the odds of you coming across them in any commercial gym is pretty low. So to have the ability to go that high with the adjustable dumbbells here makes this an incredible value. At least I thought so when I bought them. I have the set with plates able to go up to 155 each, so I would have to throw a couple extra plates on a single one to get up to 170, but if I added more plates to my set, then theoretically I could get them both that high. I would never need them both at that weight, but it is a possibility and part of why I bought them. So we have the massive weight range, which is awesome, but how about actually changing from one weight to another? So the Reppins allow us to do that really easily. We have the pop pin on the side, you pop it out, you slide it up to what you want it on, and then you set it back in. You do that on both sides of the rail, and then you move on to the other dumbbell, do the same thing. You can adjust both of them within like 10 seconds. The Pépin HDs, on the other hand, are a screw lock, meaning that you have to fully unscrew this thing. Yep, keep going. Pull it out and then manually set your plates here. So kind of similar to an Iron Master, but not the quick lock. We just have the full threaded screw here, and we have the different heights you see up front. So the reason why these are here is because you need to use different sets of screws depending on how many plates are on here. Obviously, these shorter screws are not going to fit those plates, but these screws would be far too long if you just had one or two of these on here, because it's going to go all the way through the handle and meet the other one. So part of the adjustability process with these is not only the manual movement of the plates themselves, screwing and unscrewing, but also making sure that you actually have the right length of screw to go in and secure these weights depending on the weight that you're using. So this process right here is really the entire reason that I even own these, because these obviously have all the weight that I could ever want, but the ability to quickly adjust between the two types of weights, or do drop sets, or literally anything else where you're changing weight from one to another, it can't be understated how important that is. And I'll show a video of just how slow it is to adjust both dumbbells fully so that you can really see what you're getting into with this type of setup. The weight range is amazing, but the adjustments honestly suck. Now, that's not to say that the Reppins have been perfect for me. I did allude to this in my full review, but in my case, I do have a couple of these plates that end up sticking on me from time to time when pulling out, say like 30, 40, 50 pounds, where I'll pull out the dumbbell and instead of just the plates that I've selected being on there, there will be an additional straggler that's kind of hung on, and in some cases has even dropped to the floor. So now I'm a little bit more attentive to that and try to avoid that, but it still does happen even despite playing around with the cradle length and the cradle setup, which we'll get to a little bit more. But in terms of overall adjustability, both are going to allow you to go up in 5-pound increments. The Pépin HDs go up through a much larger weight range, all the way up to 170 pounds, which again, most people are not going to need, but it is possible. But the speed is the key here. The Fast Series are the Fast Series for a reason, and they're incredible at it. The HDs are as slow as you could possibly imagine, and especially when you start to add weight and you're going from 130 to 140 pounds, you're flipping a 130-pound dumbbell over multiple times to adjust that. That's also taxing. So in addition to just the inconvenience of it, you're also expending a lot of energy to make that happen. Now we're going to talk about how these dumbbells actually feel to use. And after the adjustment part, you might be like, well, why do you still have these? I can't imagine you're using 130 plus pounds that often. And the truth is, no, I'm really not. But the overall feel of the Pépin HDs is incredible. So setting these things up sucks. There's no question about it. But once these are locked in tight, I honestly don't think you can have a better feeling dumbbell. You have a very wide diameter to the handle. You have really nice knurl on here. It's not super aggressive. It's actually a fairly passive knurl, but it feels really nice, and you don't need super crazy aggressive knurling on dumbbells. If I'm doing super heavy rows or RDLs or something, I would just throw straps on anyway so that my grip isn't a factor. But the width of the handle is actually really nice for pressing and just allows your joints to feel really good. I really mean, like, if you got this set up and you could just have somebody be your weight caddy, these feel absolutely amazing. And as you get heavier in weight, that becomes even more important. They're incredibly compact. So this setup right here is actually 130 pounds. I think it's technically like 128. But this is, as you can see, significantly shorter than the Reppins at 120 pounds here, which could go to 125 if we added that. And the Reppins are already a very compact dumbbell. So the fact that these are even more compact just goes to show you just how good they are. It's because these are 10-pound plate adjustments, and then they come with the 5s and the 2.5s if you get the plates. You can also just buy the handle and the screw, and if you already have your own standard plates, then you can load those up yourself and not have to worry about it. I did buy the calibrated plates because I liked the way that the set looked. But yeah, the overall fit and feel and finish of this is just awesome. You've got the nice stainless steel looking, I don't know if they're actually stainless steel, probably are, screw end caps. The handle, I can't remember what the coating is, if it's an E-coat or a Cerakote, but it just feels really nice. It looks really sharp. The plates are calibrated and super well balanced. The Reppins are also incredibly high quality. I think that the knurl on both of them is pretty similar. I think the main difference here is that there's no coating on this one, on the Reppins, so that's probably the difference that I'm feeling. But the Reppin does have a slightly smaller diameter on the handle. It's not a small diameter, don't get me wrong. The HDs are just a little bit thicker, and the overall feel of the Reppins is awesome. So for almost any exercise, you're not gonna even notice that these aren't just regular dumbbells. They're gonna be locked in nice and tight. You don't feel a bunch of weight shifting around, something like a power block like I had before. I absolutely love them, but there's no argument that you can feel some of the weights inside shifting depending on where you're at in the movement. You don't get that with the Reppins. The Reppins feel like locked in solid dumbbells. Where there is a small issue, and this is really just kind of a nitpick, is with the rails for me on dumbbell RDLs. So whenever I'm doing dumbbell RDLs, I like to have the handle basically on my legs as it's coming up and down. And with the rails on either side, you can't actually do that. So the weight has to be positioned a little bit further out in front of me. Whereas with the Pépin HDs, these are just normal dumbbells. So obviously you can do that, and I can go as heavy as I possibly want. Beyond that, the rails for me don't really become an issue. They might be an issue if you have really large hands. You could potentially brush into the pop pin when it's set in like the 60-70 range. But even that hasn't really been much of a problem for me. And overall, these feel incredible to use. Now, getting them in and out of the rack is a different story. So it's not bad, but there is a very small window that you have for success with pulling these in and out. So what keeps these plates together is this little rectangular ridge through the middle, and it's not super wide. So you have to guide the dumbbells directly into that slot on both sides to get them to sit into the cradle, which with 30, 40 pounds isn't a big deal, but as you get closer to the 100, 110, 120, it's a little bit harder to maneuver. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but it is a little bit of work, and sometimes they can get a little bit jammed up. It's more of an annoyance than anything. With the way that they designed them, I don't know how you would improve upon it, but it is something worth noting. Whereas these, once they're set up, you just pull them, you pick them up, and they're ready to go. So there's nothing else to worry about. One final note with using the Pépin HDs, they're not perfect. So even though I said they feel amazing once they're set up, something that I do find happens very frequently when using them is after the set, they actually get a little bit loose. So you end up having to retighten all 4 screws, 2 on each side, or 2 on each dumbbell, I should say, which does get a little bit annoying. Again, I'm not using them a ton, but if I am using them, I want to make sure that they are screwed on tight, because if I'm using them, they're going to be heavy weights. So they're not as good at staying on tight because, again, it's just a hand screw here. So as opposed to having the pop pin to be able to lock it in and know that the weight's not going anywhere. Another aspect of using these is storing them. So the Pépin HDs have a bunch of plates. So if you're not using them, you kind of need a place to put them. So I have a Titan Fitness dumbbell stand, which has a bunch of weight horns that you can throw the extra plates on, which is really nice. And then I just put the extra screws that I'm not using underneath that stand. So that works out really well. The Titan stand, I want to say, is like 150 bucks, nothing crazy. And obviously you don't even necessarily need to do that, but I think that having the weight horns there, if you're storing plates yourself, is really nice. The Reppins, on the other hand, I have the Rep adjustable dumbbell stand for, which I think is an absolute no-brainer if you're in the price point for purchasing these. They move around on the stand super easily. You can adjust the height of the stand, the width of the stand, and getting these in and out of the cradle is one of my larger complaints with them, and the stand is the most helpful aspect for alleviating any sort of issues there. So the add-on with the stand is going to be another $299 to the total here. So 300 extra bucks with the Reppins, and then, like I said, about 150 bucks if you went with the Titan or some similar variant for the Pépin HDs. So price and value wise, the Reppins are going to come in 3 different weight increments, and they can be upgraded in the future if you start with the lighter ones. But the 85-pound set is going to start at $10.99. The 105-pound set is $12.99, and then the 125-pound set that I have here is $14.99 as of the making of this video. The Pépin HDs have a couple different options here because you really only need the handles and the adjustment screws, and you can buy those on their own. So if you have some standard weight plates, so the 1-inch hole weight plates, you can use those with the Pépin HDs, and those are pretty easy to come by secondhand, and you can save quite a bit of money doing that. If you're just getting the handles with the screws, it also depends on which screws that you want. So the long screws are what are going to take you up to the 170 range. I think the middle screws might get you to 90 or 100, and the short screws, I want to say maybe 50, 60. The set that I have all the way up through the long screw is just over 500 bucks. Now, these do come from Canada. So if you're in the United States, you're paying shipping, and then you're also paying import duties on top of that. You also have the option to buy the calibrated plates with the handles, which is what I opted to do. And the set that I got was the 5-145 as it's listed on the website. And I believe in 2021, I paid around $2,000 total dollars. It's around 1,500-ish bucks for the product itself, and then you're paying for shipping, and then again the import duties to the United States. If you're in Canada, then you obviously don't have to worry about that part. But it is possible to get these with the handles fairly significantly cheaper than the Reppins. But the value is also going to come down to how much use you're able to get out of them. Being able to quickly adjust the weight, I would argue, is far more important and well worth the extra money. Because yeah, if you're just training by yourself, it can be an annoyance to adjust up and down. You're never going to be able to do drop sets, but again, you can probably go without those. But if you ever wanted to train with somebody that wasn't exactly as strong as you were, going back and forth on sets with the HDs would be an absolute nightmare, and you would never want to do it. Whereas with the Reppins, it's a no-brainer. It takes 10 seconds to adjust them both, and then you're ready to go. So even though there is a pretty big price discrepancy here, if you're just getting the handles, the overall value is going to be a much bigger call on your part based on how important adjusting weights quickly is to you. So let's wrap this up. The Pépin HDs, when they are set up and locked in, feel as good as a dumbbell can possibly feel. Yet, I would almost never recommend these to anybody because these exist, and that goes to show you just how important it is to be able to quickly adjust your weight. Not to say that these don't feel amazing, because they do. The only thing holding these back, really, from a use standpoint, are the rails. Obviously, I mentioned a few different setup issues that can occur, but these are 98% there. These are 100% there when they're locked in, but they are so slow and annoying to adjust that I never use them unless I need more than 125 pounds, which is rarely ever, or like I said, unless I'm doing the dumbbell RDLs so that I can keep the handle closer to my legs. That is the only time that these see use. If I really wanted to do heavy farmer's walks or croc rows, then yeah, again, I can go over that 125 pound weight limit. But for most people, that's not even going to be relevant to your training. So the Reppins, by far my best recommendation in terms of an adjustable dumbbell set, because they can do everything. They feel great. The quality is amazing. They're not perfect, but like I said, they're about as good as you can ask for from both a quality and a convenience standpoint. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. If you want help designing a training plan around your own equipment, your home gym, commercial gym, whatever that may be, get in touch with me at the links below and we can put together a custom program for you. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will catch you again in the next one.